Once upon a time, there was a little girl. Just like any little girl, she grew up with dreams of fairy tales, of Prince Charming on a white horse. And then she got married. And she also dreamt of many days of happily ever after. And then she got married. And she faced the tough realities that life had in store for her. Rejection, abandonment, and a whole host of other things. This is the story of 40% of the women in India. I'm not joking. 40% of the women in India. Good evening, ladies and gentlemen, and my other speakers, co-speakers. It's truly an honor and a pleasure to be here. The theme for this evening, I was told, was from some to awesome. Some, I am. Awesome, just getting there, hopefully. This is the story of the journey in between. About 15 years ago, I faced some personal challenges in my own life. And while I was going through them, I understood the challenges a woman goes through in this society, in this world. At that point in time, I had attended a paper bag workshop with making paper bags with newspapers. And I thought to myself, if you want to empower a woman, you empower her financially first. She seldom does something wrong with her money. She's responsible. She will even find a little money to splurge on herself after saving and looking after her family. And at that point in time, I had this idea in my mind of starting this organization, an organization which would, where I would get people to donate newspaper, give it to these women to make, and I would market it for them. The entire supply chain was clear in my mind, but I kind of did nothing about it for the next 12 years. I raised a family, 3 wonderful children. I'm a web strategist by profession and a writer. I just got so busy with my life. But 12 years later, when the global economic meltdown was sweeping across the world, it did have its repercussions in India as well. There were people losing their jobs, businesses that had to shut down. And on one such occasion, I dropped in at a friend's house. She looks like me, she talks like me, wears lipstick and high heels just like me. And I asked her for a cup of tea. I dropped in just to have a chat, and I asked her, can I have a cup of tea? And her face fell. She said, there's only black tea. So I said, yeah, that's okay. So she goes inside, brings me a cup of black tea, sets it down in front of me, and she says, why am I trying to hide something from you, Diwia? There's no milk. I'm like, yeah, that happens. Milk curdles. You must have forgotten to leave the coupons outside. All kinds of stories. It happens in all our houses all the time. It's okay. And she said, no, it's not that. We just don't have the money. So I asked her, what about the children? She said, no, they haven't had them in a while. To pay the van fees, my child is left standing outside the class for non-payment of fees. And there's about 4 or 5 other of my friends just like this. And they all look like me, talk like me. What I mean is, they can't go out and beg, and they don't have money to pay either. I didn't sleep that night. I went home and I resurrected my idea of the paper bag unit. And I have children myself, I have a career myself, so there was no question of sitting and doing this 24/7. So I called her the next morning and I said, hey, you know what? I'll teach you guys how to make one bag. You guys make the bags and I'll sell it to you. And that's how it all began. So there were these 5 women making bags and I was selling it for them. A couple of months down the line, my basic calculation was that I used to keep telling them, wake up at 4 or 5 in the morning, finish your cooking, do all your housework, send off your husband and children to work, sit down at 10 o'clock to make bags. Make bags till 12 o'clock, and in 2 hours you can make 60 bags. And you get, those days you used to get paid 2 rupees. And so that's like 60 bags into 2 rupees is 120 rupees. Work of 25 days, that's an average of 3,000 rupees a month, which is enough those days, not in today's economy, those days, enough to put meager meals on a family's table. That was all I intended this to be. It isn't like that now. It is now, in many houses, the sole income. It was only meant to be a secondary income to a household. And while they were making these bags, I kept thinking, they're doing so much of hard work and they're still getting only 2 rupees because we have to balance the market price of a bag as well. I was like, I need to find some other bag that they can make where they can get paid more. And I figured it would be the gift bag segment. You know those pretty handmade paper bags? Where do I get handmade paper from? As with everything in my life, I take everything to God. I spend a good 1 hour with Him every morning and I was telling God, you know Lord, what do I do? Where do I find paper? So morning and evening, day after day, what do I do? What do I do? What do I do? What do I do? I was like constantly thinking about it. And at that time I had to go to Delhi to help my sister with her newborn baby. And since I was in Delhi, I had decided that I was going to take a backpacking trip to Jaipur without my parents' knowledge. They're sitting here. And I had taken a backpack from here to Delhi, thinking that I'm not going to tell anyone, I'm just going to quietly just go over to Jaipur for 2-3 days, find a handmade paper manufacturer somehow, because I've heard that that's the place. The night before I left, I get a call from one of my friends who, when I get to Jaipur, I realize is India's largest manufacturer and exporter of handmade paper. They supply to Walmart, Tesco, Carrefour, and the owner who was waiting for me at the top of the stairs spends the whole day with me, and at the end of the day, he actually allows me to buy paper from them. There's something I say at PaperTrail every other day to all my building, that if God is the wind in your sails, your boat will go far. And this was one of those experiences. I didn't have the capital to start PaperTrail, but I had a little chitty that everyone kept telling me that's such a bad economic decision. But I had 50,000 rupees. I carried my checkbook with me. I paid me 40,000 rupees for handmade paper. I had him ship it to Kochi. And when we came back here, we found customers for our nice, pretty expensive bags. Yeah, those are some of the bags we made with our handmade paper. This one was for Onam. It's actually got a real customer strip stuck on it. These bags retail for 80 to 100 rupees. So I can't tell you how much of money goes into their hands at this point in time. And in this process, again, somebody had ordered these very expensive handmade paper bags for us, from us, and he wanted a particular kind of imported jute string as to where to buy the string from. Again, it's like, Lord, what do I do? What do I do? And then I go and lie down and I'm so exhausted and calling, what do I do? The bags are all made and printed, but we don't have string. And my cousin called, and she said, hey, you know what? I was telling her I need to find this particular kind of string, and she says, you know what? There's this bag sitting here in front of me, and it looks like something, the string looks like something that you could use. There's a number at the bottom of the bag. Why don't you just give them a call? The number looks like some number in North India. I said, okay. I pick up a pen and I start writing. Just let this little secret be within this space. I'm a little number dyslexic. I can't write a string of numbers without flipping 1 or 2. So I'm happily writing down this number, this mobile number, a string of 10 numbers, and I have flipped, and I'm not knowing it. I call that number, and the call goes to somebody just down the road from my house who has the string I want and was willing to supply it. If God's the wind in your sails, your boat will go far. He still supplies us that particular kind of string. And then, while I was in Delhi again, somebody called me saying, you know, Diwia, I've heard of this paper bag thing that you do, because her husband's want to feed us the first mats on the floor and all that. And I didn't even realize that they were watching me. I was like, walking out in my car keys. And I saw them and I was so overwhelmed. I sat down on the floor on the mat cross-legged because I didn't know what to do with 35 women. We anyway started making bags. 35 women making an average of 60 to 100 newspaper bags every day is a huge amount of production at that time. I wasn't prepared for it at all. I needed to desperately find customers, which I did. But we also needed to set systems in this place. So we set up the system where we will elect 3 people by rotation every month who will make sets of 3 papers and sets of 50 strings. And every Monday morning they will come sit with registers. They will give out a set of 50 papers and 50 strings. You've got to come the next Monday with 50 fully made bags. I seldom get into the nitty-gritty of this, but I find women are very intelligent, very smart, very capable of looking after their own lives. They just need the opportunity. So very often on Mondays I would just stand behind and watch what's happening. And I saw one time there was this lady who's 65 years old. She's terribly bad at making bags. I don't think she can save the 4 papers save her life. She's that bad. But they wouldn't say no to her. So she comes with 45 bags and 5 bags without string. I'm hearing the lady at the register asking her, what do you do? What did you do with the string? So she said, I can't find it. She goes, you must have tied it all up together and put it as a string for your petticoat. That was one way in which they kept, that lady never lost a single string after that. Then they didn't want to get rid of her. The whole idea behind PaperTrail is that you sit at home and make the bags. You don't have to leave your home and your household duties. So she sits everyone sits at home. But this one's so lousy at making bags, they don't want to throw her out. So 3 of them decided that they would put her at the end. They'd sit in a row, and one person would fold, the next person would do the bottom fold, and this one will do only the stringing because she's capable of doing that. From there on, our journey has been pretty fast. That was by invitation from January police station. It was a group of 50 women, Muslims, Hindus, Christians. They still make bags. There are some of the women from that workshop who I don't even remember their names. There's a Muslim woman from that. I don't even know her face. And she's been making bags for the last 2 years. She lives in a little ghetto in a 1-room tenement with 15 people and 2 goats. And manages to make the bags. Gives 50 rupees to her brother for petrol in his bike to drop off the bags at my place. He drops off the bags, I give him the money. And this is basically how I run the group. Very loosely based, but it's a working system. When we were about doing an 8,000 bag turnover per day, and then on that particular day I noticed that we were in this Kerala Sarkar folder, and I realized, oops, we were right. To be one of those folders, right? This is another group of women who can hardly, none of them can walk. None of these women can walk. Some of them have club fingers. They make perfect bags. Can you see her fingers there? They club fingers, but they make perfect bags. They walk into the room, they make big bags, they crawl on all fours. So joyful, so happy. They inspire me too. We didn't know how to put any kind of logos. This was our first bag that we did a logo. I cut a template out of a file sheet and we used post-it paints to do that. But today, this is where we are. Of course, those are not professionally screen printed. We supply bags to some of the best companies and the best brands in India. Today, we do a turnover of 1,80,000 bags per year. 50 women at any given point of time across 5 locations in Kerala. God has been good to us. And like I say again and again, over and over again, if God is the wind in your sails, your boat will go far. That's the story of